Among the 9 hells, one is a flaming wasteland full of battle and destruction. This is the Hell of 9 Skies, the deepest of the hells. Here, only the strongest of demons are capable of surviving. Gathering in this pit of death and despair, they fight against each other in an endless war. Only to determine the strongest demon of all. 2 such demons, the great Gurgos and Balak, are currently engaged in such a battle. Though the dog-like Balak gets some good blows in, Gurgos has incredible defenses. His gargoyle-like body is tough enough to stand Balak's attacks, and he just comes back to mock him. Their battle continues in this manner, Balak attacking and Gurgos tanking, for quite some time. Eventually, the latter summons a mob of lesser demons to distract Balak. While the animalistic demon kills them with ease, their sheer numbers make him waste quite some time on the task. Just then, Gurgos leaps on Balak with a massively powerful surprise attack. When the dust clears though, Balak stands unharmed with his fists ablaze. Shooting forth with a devastating punch, he blows a hole clean through Gurgos's body. With his opponent dead, Balak stands the victor. In a dark and gloomy castle, Balak can be found kneeling before a throne. All around him, dozens of lesser demons kneel in their places as well. Up on the platform in front of them, sat upon his throne, is the true demon king. The most powerful demon to exist, clad in black armor that blazes with purple flames, looks down upon his subjects. Finally, Balak speaks. Looking up at his king, he begs to know why he wishes to go back. He already possesses everything in hell, what else could he possibly want? As the king's power flares, Balak goes silent while remembering all of his king's achievements. With his power of gluttony, he absorbed the power and bodies of every single demon that crossed him. Even the 7 princes of hell who were too powerful to kill each other, fell to the king. Finally, the demon king's voice is heard. Speaking up, he asks Balak how he has it all? In the 10,000 years he has been trapped in hell, he's had the same depressing view, daily bloodshed, destruction upon destruction. What even is there to have in this realm? As he says this, his face is revealed to be that of a human, O Kangwoo. For some reason, Balak thinks his king is hungry. To make him happy, the demon calls forth a platter of demon heads. Looking at the bloody and ugly stuff he's been forced to survive on for a millennia, Kangwoo only feels disgust. All he wants is kimchi stew. Unfortunately, the demons before him misunderstand what he means. True demons have no concept of anything except killing and consuming their enemies. As such, the things that Kangwoo wants don't register to them at all. When he mentions kimchi stew, they imagine a terrible cocktail of demon parts. When he wants entertainment, they imagine killing other demons. Nothing here can give him even the simplest pleasures of his old home, the human world. Hell, maybe he could even withstand this depressing existence if he at least just had a loved one here. Right as he says this, the succubus queen Lilith walks in. Asking if she is not a loved one, the demon woman walks up to her king. Kangwoo, however, can only see the dozens of tentacles, the multiple eyes, the horribly terrifying being that is in front of him. Even as she tries to embrace him, Kangwoo can only be terrified by her and tries to stay away. He finally yells out his true desire, the thing he wants most. After 10,000 years in this dark and gloomy realm, he's grown tired of it all. He craves the comforts of the human world that he once enjoyed. He has to return to Earth. Both Balak and Lilith try to convince him to stay in hell. Kangwoo's mind, however, is made up. His preparations for returning to Earth are finally complete after he absorbed the 7th Archduke, Baal. This has been his goal for these whole 10,000 years. Rising from his throne, he tells Balak to prepare the thing. At his lord's command, Balak orders the lesser demons to summon the dark magician Amon and gather the equipment of the archdukes. Later in the ritual chamber, Amon guides Kangwoo through the process of dimension travel. By pushing a large amount of his demonic energy into the equipment of the archdukes and warping the space-time boundaries, he can open the dimensional portal. Excited by the idea of finally going home, Kangwoo stands in position and releases his energy. A pillar of purple light shoots up from his body, blowing the other demons back. As the portal opens and Kangwoo steps through, a crying Lilith runs after him. She doesn't want to live without him. Inside the portal, Kangwoo loses sight of her as he falls in a void. The man is actually thankful for this since he finds Lilith terrifying. While falling, Kangwoo thinks about how he only wishes to return to a world like his Earth. He already knows his loved ones will be long gone after all these years. Eventually, he lands on a glowing platform. Suddenly, warning windows start popping up showing an error. The dimensional defense mechanism, Gaia, has been activated. Something within this, the dimensional gap, is very wrong. Another warning states that the Gaia system is being overloaded. With one final message that says restricted sealing has been initiated, Kang-woo is suddenly electrocuted by pink lightning and falls unconscious. When next he wakes, he's in a green forest similar to those on Earth. Standing up, he's shocked to find that most of his power has been sealed away. To make matters worse, a group of goblins break through the greenery and attack him. Seeing the goblins, Kang-woo is confused by the sight. Creatures like this never existed on the Earth, he remembers. Turning to the goblins, Kang-woo realizes the demonic energy in the 10,000 demon core, the source of his energy, is weakened. Luckily, the abilities that he's absorbed from other demons are still available to him. Using one to create a blade that sticks out of his forearm, he slices the goblins apart in a single dash and slash. A window pops up saying he's gained XP from killing the E-rank monster, Goblin. Deciding to learn more about his situation, Kang-woo calls forth the power he uses to absorb others. The authority of predation. With this, he consumes the bodies of the goblins around him. This gives him knowledge of their bodies and their makeup. However, one thing truly terrifies him. After absorbing the goblins, a window pops up that says he has gained demonic energy. If such a thing exists here, then there's a solid chance he's not back on Earth at all. For 10,000 years, the only thing that kept him sane was the hope of returning home, and this may not even be it. Right then, he hears a scream from nearby. But more importantly, a human scream. Using another absorbed ability, Valifor's authority of speed, Kang-woo races towards the voice. Reaching a clearing, he sees a bunch of goblins ganging up on a human girl. To Kang-woo, someone who hasn't seen a single normal person in 100 centuries, she's the most beautiful thing he could possibly lay eyes on. He crushes the goblins at once and helps the girl up. She introduces herself as Han Sol-ah, but what happens next stuns her. Kang-woo grasps her hand and asks the girl to marry him. After realizing just what he's blurted out in his excitement, Kang-woo instantly apologizes and tries to play it off. After calming down, he apologizes to Sol-ah and asks if she's alright or has any injuries from the goblins. Though she tries to deny it, an injury on her leg causes her to fall into Kang-woo's arms. As this happens, something falls from her pocket that relieves Kang-woo massively. A smartphone. They must really be on Earth after all then. Finally able to relax, he realizes another thing that should have made this obvious. He and Sol-ah have been talking in Korean this whole time, of course they'd have to be on Earth. He just didn't realize at first, since he's been speaking Korean to demons anyways for 10,000 years. One of the first things he did in hell was to ban demonic language so he'd never forget Korean after all. While talking, he learns that it's the year 2023, which means on Earth it's only been 5 years since he went to hell. In these 5 years, gates have appeared that connect Earth to areas with monsters like the one they're in now. Sol-ah is a player, a profession that involves killing the monsters in the gates. She got in trouble due to entering the gate as a solo player despite not being high level enough to do so. Unfortunately, her family situation makes it so she's desperate for money. Because of this, she felt she had no other choice. Suddenly, Sol-ah becomes very embarrassed when the two's arms brush against each other. Standing, she says they should head back home. Her injury makes her stumble again, but luckily Kang-woo is able to catch her. Helping her walk, the two head towards the gate. When they step through this area's gate onto Earth, Kang-woo is overwhelmed by the sight of his home world. To make things even better, Sol-ah invites him to have dinner at her place, an offer he gladly accepts. At Sol-ah's apartment, they're greeted by her mother. Though Kang-woo is a bit disappointed that it's not just the two of them, he can't bring himself to be upset by the kind old lady. Besides, after how he lived in hell, even a normal dinner with a pair of humans is a blessing in itself. While she prepares dinner, Sol-ah goes to change her clothes. Meanwhile, Kang-woo borrows her phone to read up on the state of the world and the time he's been gone. On the day of calamity 5 years ago, gates opened across the world and spat out monsters that devastated humanity. Players, people with the power to fight back, emerged over time and helped to restore some level of peace. Something that Kang-woo notes is this day of calamity is the exact date when he was pulled into hell. This makes him wonder if the thing that made him fall into hell for so long was one of the gates. His investigation is stopped though when Sol-ah's mom announces that dinner is ready. Lifting his eyes from the phone, Kang-woo is treated to a sight that leaves him paralyzed. It's kimchi stew. The simple food that most would take for granted, yet something he's craved for so long. For centuries he's been forced to eat demon flesh to live. Even as he vomited it back up, even as he cried tears of disgust and pain, he lived through it all by throwing away his humanity. And now, after 10,000 years he can finally see the thing that kept him sane right in front of him. The second he puts a spoonful of the stew in his mouth, Kang-woo breaks down in tears. Nobody could ever imagine just how good that single spoon tastes to him. Quickly scarfing down the rest of his bowl, Kang-woo is first to ask for seconds. Right as he does this, the apartment's entrance suddenly explodes. A young man with a thuggish appearance walks in demanding to see Sol-ah. The man, Han Tae-han, enters the apartment and starts mocking Sol-ah. He refuses to acknowledge her as a player and tries to force her to come join his guild. Sol-ah refuses and the two have a heated argument full of curses. He even insults her parents, which makes Sol-ah even more furious. She yells out that the whole reason their family is so poor is because of him in the first place. Ignoring her, Tae-han grabs her hand and tries to drag her out with him. He's determined to put her in the Andros guild he's from. Sol-ah is even more determined to stand against him though and bites into his arm to get away. Annoyed and in pain, Tae-han slaps her to the floor. Infuriated at the pain, he tells Sol-ah she should have just quietly become his sacrifice. But now, they should face each other in battle. When Sol-ah's mom tries to reason with him, Tae-han even knocks her out, throwing her to the ground. As Sol-ah cries for her mother to wake up, he mocks them even further. Grabbing Sol-ah by the face, he starts going on about how she has to enter the Andros guild for him. She's not good for anything else anyways. However, the sound of slurping fills the apartment, distracting them both. Turning to the table, Tae-han sees Kang-woo who's fully absorbed in his food. When he tries to talk to Kang-woo, the Demon King fully ignores him in favor of his food. Annoyed by this insult, Tae-han kicks away the whole table, destroying the food on it as well. This finally gets a reaction from Kang-woo. A furious one. With a terrifying look on his face, he turns on Tae-han. Unable to believe this poor-looking guy is actually dangerous, Tae-han shows his cockiness and prepares to fight. Summoning a blue flame onto his fists, Tae-han is ready to lay a beatdown on Kang-woo. Before he can do anything, an arrow of light hits his fist. From the side, Sol-ah has fired her own weapon to distract Tae-han. She yells out for Kang-woo to run away. The claw blade he often uses shoots out of Kang-woo's forearm and he flies at Tae-han without a word. Getting into Tae-han's guard with pure speed, Kang-woo lands a devastating knee to the stomach. Tae-han attempts to hit Kang-woo but is again dodged and rocked with a kick to the ribs. He tries to trap Kang-woo's leg with his arm but the Demon King simply blasts his face with a kick from his other leg. Using his martial arts skills and overwhelming physical abilities, Kang-woo goes on to absolutely destroy the bully and drive him to the ground. As Tae-han lays defeated, Kang-woo decides this isn't enough. For destroying the kimchi stew he longed for, this fool must suffer more and repent. He pierces Tae-han's arm and pins it to the ground with his arm blade. When Tae-han belittles the kimchi stew unintentionally, Kang-woo is enraged even further. He grabs the human's head by his hair and smashes his face into the floor. Driving his blade even deeper into his arm, Kang-woo makes him call out praises of kimchi stew and apologize for his actions. When he's finally satisfied with Tae-han's words, Kang-woo rises and stands over his limp body. After beating him, Kang-woo takes Tae-han's clothes and phone and makes him clean up the mess he made. As Tae-han cleans, he stews over his anger at the things that have been done to him. Though he's quite harsh in his mind, he shows complete fear and obedience to Kang-woo out loud. Knowing what's going through his head, Kang-woo begins to speak. The comforts that one like Tae-han enjoys on a daily basis. The things he takes for granted. Getting to sleep, eat, wear actual clothes and just live comfortably in general. He'll never understand just how blessed he is to have all these things. He really should treasure such things while he can and treat his life as something precious. Though he agrees on the outside, internally Tae-han is angrier than ever. He plots to report Kang-woo to Andros and have him destroyed. As he's thinking this, Kang-woo calls him over. The next words out of his mouth absolutely terrify Tae-han. Kang-woo tells him there's really no benefit to leaving him alive now, after all it's not like he's good for much. However, he won't kill him. What he plans to put him through is probably worse than dying though. Kang-woo uses Orabaz's authority of fear to put Tae-han in a demonic illusion. In this, the thuggish young man suffers from such a crippling amount of fear that his mind is nearly left broken. Kang-woo tells him to get lost and never speak of the things that happen here to anyone else. After Tae-han leaves, Kang-woo reads up on the details of the player job. He learns about magic power stones that are gained from killing monsters. Players can sell these for money. Deciding to become a player so he can build up some wealth, Kang-woo asks Sol-ah where the player management office is. Since she needs to go there as well, Sol-ah tells him to wait while she changes. Though he really likes her, Kang-woo decides he can't stick with Sol-ah in the gates. For now, he needs to focus on regaining all his powers. Before getting a player card, Kang-woo goes to the district office to get a new ID card first since he's been gone so long. While getting it, he learns that nobody even realized he was gone all these years. For 5 whole years he was gone from the earth with no warning, and there wasn't a single person who felt his absence. Though this almost makes him despair, Sola's words bring him back to the present. Now that he has a second chance at a human life, he'll make sure things are different this time around. At the player management office, Sol-Ah and Kang-woo split up with a promise to share dinner after they're done for the day. Sol-Ah heads to her basic training class while Kang-woo goes for his registration tests. While waiting for his turn, he learns of the 5 great guildmasters, Korea's top players. When his turn arrives, he enters the testing area. He's told the first test is to channel his power into a ball which will measure it. The darker the ball gets, the higher his ranking will be. Kang-woo believes he'll probably just end up acing this and getting a high rank. After all, he's a millennia-old demon king. But when he channels his power into the ball, he's shocked to learn he's gotten an F rank. The end. For now. Check out this next manhwa recap appearing on screen right now.